This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where every week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we discuss what's going on in our business. Plus, we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week, we'll be talking to Colin Rowntree of Wasteland. Adult Site Broker is proud to announce Adult Site Broker Cash, the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage. With Adult Site Broker Cash, you'll have the chance to earn as much as 20% of our broker commission, referring sellers and buyers to us at Adult Site Broker. Check our website at adultsitebroker.com for more details. First of all, today, let's cover some of the news going on in our industry. Nude celebrity sites MrSkin.com and MrMan.com are honoring 2020's top 10 hottest female and hottest male Emmy nominees with a ranking that celebrates their most sensual, alluring nude scenes. The female top 5 is Kerry Washington in Little Fires Everywhere, Thandie Newton in Westworld, Betty Gilpin in Glow, Jennifer Aniston in The Morning Show, and number 1 is Rachel Brosnahan in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The male top 5 is Hugh Jackman in Someone Like You, Brad Pitt takes number 4 slot for his many past films, Adam Driver in Girls, Mark Ruffalo from I Know This Much Is True, and the number 1 spot goes to Watchmen star Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. That's a mouthful. Sadly, performer Zoe Parker has passed away in Texas, according to reports circulating around industry figures familiar with her career. Parker is said to have passed at her home in a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas last week. There's no official confirmation about her passing, but people familiar with her adult career allege to have spoken with her fiancé, who was engaged to her in March, and he appears to be the main source of the report at this time. Parker, who was only 24 years old, has been active in the industry since turning 18 in 2014. During her time in the industry, Parker shot for several prominent studios, including Reality Kings, Bang Bros, Team Skeet, Kink.com, Bang, New Sensations, Digital Playground, Girlfriend Films, Adam and Eve, and Evil Angel. John H. Weston, the legendary First Amendment attorney who was a foundational figure and mentor in the legal field of the adult industry, has also passed away last week, friends and colleagues have confirmed. Weston succumbed to cancer surrounded by his family, friends, and law partners. Weston's storied legal career made him witness to some of the most notable legal milestones in the establishment of the legal adult industry in California and the United States. Weston was mentored by his legal partner Stanley Fleischman, who he later remembered as the first major Los Angeles First Amendment attorney, and in a very real sense, also the first major U.S. First Amendment attorney. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We have an adult microblogging and social media site that has over 7.7 million unique visitors per month. The site is a mix of social media and microblogging with a very active user base, which is expanding rapidly every day. The platform offers every registered user a blog, which they can use to post their own content and reblog content from other users. They can also interact with other users through comments and an instant messaging system. The website offers truly immense potential for growth and earnings for the right person or company. By adding subscription plans for an ad-free experience, a new owner would significantly raise the earnings, and combined with starting to sell ads directly, could more or less double the earnings in no time at all. The site is also very unique. There's nothing else like it. Also, it has not been advertised in any way, so there are tremendous opportunities for growth using ad campaigns. For the right company, this is an opportunity which has immense potential. This great site is available now for only $280,000. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is the man, the myth, the legend, Colin Rowntree, the owner of BDSM super site Wasteland. Colin, thanks for being with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Oh, good to be here, Bruce.
It's good to have you. Founded and launched in 1994, Wasteland.com is the internet's oldest and most popular BDSM fetish and alternative sexuality site. Wasteland prides itself on the quality of its authentic BDSM movies. Wasteland has produced over 1,300 original BDSM films featuring lifestyle, kinky people performing a vast array of bondage, fetish, and sex acts that appeal to bondage aficionados around the world. That's a tough word. As the founder and CEO of Wasteland, Colin is a true pioneer of the online adult entertainment industry. Colin's stature within the adult industry is reflected by the many honors and recognitions he's received over the years. They've included his 2011 induction into the AVN Hall of Fame. Colin was also the recipient of the 2018 XBiz Legacy Award and at the 2015 XBiz Progressive Leadership Award, the 2011 Leadership Award from the Free Speech Coalition, and winner of multiple awards from other adult media outlets. Colin was also awarded the 2015 Progressive Leadership of the Year in the XBiz Executive Awards. As a BDSM film director and producer, Colin has directed over 600 Wasteland films, which focus on authentic BDSM play, featuring lifestyle BDSM kinksters. Colin is a frequent contributor to industry trade publications and websites, including AVN. He's been interviewed by and featured on media outlets such as Forbes.com, The Washington Post, The Boston Globe, The International Business Times, CNBC, Rolling Stone, the BBC, the Fox Network, HBO, ABC's Nightline, Salon.com, Cosmo, LA Weekly, Bazaar Magazine, MTV.com, Gizmodo, AskMen.com, Men's Health, Time, Wired, CNET, and more. Sorry, Colin. That's all the time we have for today. Okay.
It makes me It makes me tired just listening to that whole thing.
Made me tired saying it. Let me tell you. So we'll start out with a simple one. What's new over at Wasteland?
Well, I mean, obviously, everybody's going through, be it producers, directors, or performers, we're trying to wade our way through this whole pandemic and coronavirus 19 thing and how that's affecting, how we do business. Mm-hmm. So we've basically moved to doing remote filming at this point. Mm-hmm. For the safety of everybody involved. Very early on in this thing back in March, I was talking to one of our performers, she's also a PhD in viral immunology at a university hospital, and she's also a kinky cam girl at night. So she was a good combination. So Dr. Cecilia Ricci, she's been shooting with Wasteland for 12 years, wow. Exclusive to us, just a couple times a year when she wants to get her kink on. But I called her up. I said, well, do you want to put together something that we can shoot, on this thing? And the world was not on lockdown yet. I was intending to actually fly out to the Midwest where she's located and shoot the thing. And she got back to me in about an hour later. She came back with the full treatment. And it was basically a, ripped from the headline story about coronavirus, and also ripped from her personal life of being a, PhD, immunologist, working in a lab by day and coming home at night, and trying to find ways to scratch her itch as far as her, active sexuality. And, so she sent me this thing, and it was a great story. Basically, she starts exploring different online things and ends up camming and doing shows, and, she makes them free, and 15,000 people show up, and it's like, woohoo. She pitches me this, and I said, I'll write it up. So another hour later, she gave me a complete script. Love in the time of coronavirus, I think it's called. So I was going to fly out there a couple days later and shoot the thing, with her cameraman who lives with her. So, they're already isolated at that point. And then I called my doctor and I said, well, I'm thinking of flying out to the Midwest. He says, well, you're 61 years old, you smoke, and you're going to get on an airplane. Are you out of your mind? And I said, well, again, I might have something there, Doc. So I'm thinking on the drive, driving back from someplace, and I'm saying, using the Skype and Zoom and stuff thing all the time now, I bet you I can do this over Skype video. So I think about it a little bit more and got a hold of her. I said, do you have Skype video? She says, yeah, sure. I said, do you have two iPhones? She says, yep, I got my regular one and my burner that I travel with. I said, well, why don't we just try this? Let's do a video Skype. And there it came, and I could see her living room and her bedroom, and she walked around the house. I said, this will work. I said, let's make this movie, within the next 4 or 5 days. And rather than me coming out to the Midwest where you are, let's just hook me up. So I'm on your burner phone, which is on a little tripod right next to the camera, which your fellow's running. So I can use it as a monitor. And also we have audio communication that I can sit here and talk,
right?
When we're not rolling film, and I can talk to the cameraman and say, okay, I need you to pick this up, get this close up. I need you to move the tripod over or go handheld for a while. These are the shots we need. And I can also talk to her and, with some stage instruction as far as, I need this line again, or I need more emphasis on this. And we said, okay, let's give it a rip. And we did. And it's a 35-minute short feature narrative film. Very well received. It's been written up all over the place in mainstream as far as the filmmaking technique that I used. Wow. And we shot the thing in remarkably fast. I mean, it's a 35-minute film, and we shot the thing in under 4 hours.
Jeez.
I'm saying, wow, if I were to shoot this in a studio, that would have taken 8. Just because of all the crew running around and the lighting changes, this change and that change. But, basically I had a dude there with a camera for handheld and tripod and a couple of ring lights. And I was able to give him, direction as far as camera direction. And bang, in under 4 hours, we had all the raw footage. He uploaded it to Dropbox overnight, which took all night long because it was in 4K. Which everything is at this point. Yeah. Got it, threw it on a timeline, edited it, made the box cover art. We call them box covers, but they're basically fake box covers. They look like a DVD, but that's not going to DVD. It's too short. Right. And within a week of inception to completion, boom, done. It went up on Adult Empire and all the VOD platforms in the Wasteland member area. And it is very well received and went so well, we made a sequel 2 weeks ago awesome. About her getting a present from her friend who's on the White House coronavirus task force that sends her a gift. It's a Kindle Alexa device, but it ends up that the thing is spying on her and practicing mind control. So it gets into mind control. So her mind and free will are taken over by a Amazon device. So that one touches on, how we're tending to relax our, kind of privacy and device security protocols. We need this stuff so much to work at this point. Sure. So that one came out about a week ago. And it's called Pink Mirror. Which is kind of a spin-off on the TV series Black Mirror. Okay. Black Mirror is called Black Mirror because every single episode has to do with the iPhone and the effect of technology on people in a dystopian near future. So this one dealt with just technology in a right now dystopian present. So that's what we've been doing as far as actual filmmaking, as far as technology. We went 4K very early on, probably 4 years ago. Started shooting everything in 4K. We're shooting at this point in 5 to 6K. It's helpful because you just have so much information to work with. People say, well, that's too big to go on the internet. I say, well, it won't be someday. So I'm sitting on all of these masters that are sitting here in 4 to 6 to 8K at this point, that we downsized into 1080p, which is viewable on the web. And we've just got them sitting here. So when the web catches up and we can actually do really, really big stuff on the next iteration of web technology and server technology, we can come out the gate with, a couple of hundred, full 4 to 6 to 8K features, which will help with marketing, help with people saying,
sure.
wow, this looks a fuck of a lot better than a tube.
So you guys actually have content that the web isn't ready for. What is the web going to have to do to catch up?
That has to do a lot with the infrastructure of the web itself. When you hear about hops, how if I'm in Boston and the server is in Miami,
right,
and I dial into my website sitting at Mojo's in Miami, it doesn't go straight there. It goes through anywhere between 12 and 27 hops of different access points of different companies.
Right.
And that's the kind of the Cisco technology that the web is built on. And that's the bottleneck. That's where everything all kind of goes poof, which is why we can't go any faster at this point. As far as the actual, what we would call the internet itself. The technology for the next year or so is reported to completely go through a massive upgrade. Just like the phone networks are going to this new whatever 5G or whatever.
Right.
This is part of a companion to that as far as the copper wired internet. So you'll see it happen, and it will, be blazing fast, ultra high definition broadcast over the internet. You see a lot of places saying, "Oh, now in 4K, now in 4K." Well, yeah, it kind of is, but dude, you've crunched it down so bad, it's no longer true 4K, because it's not just the number of pixels on the screen, it's also what you're encoding at as far as what's called a bit rate, how many megabytes per second is being encoded at. So what a lot of the producers now for the marketing angle are doing is saying, now available in 4K. And, I'll go grab them and see what they're doing. And yeah, it's 4K, but they have crunched the fucking living shit out of it.
Yeah, it's compressed, sure.
It's compressed. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. We're doing a lot, continue doing a lot in mainstream. My wife, Angie, her studio, SSSH.com. Shush, we call it SSSH.com. It started as a porn for women and couples, sort of a naughty things for women and couples back in 1989. So she started a studio for that. That's kind of morphed off into just kind of premier adult entertainment that, we target it towards women, but not so heavily, because women like everything. It's like women like more things than men, in my experience in polling and things. So it's not like another, oh yeah, here's another Erica Luss fucking wannabe bullshit. Well, Angie was around 10 years before Erica Luss got out of fucking diapers. Thank you, you arrogant old thing. So, she captures that smart independent market. And her films, they run anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes. They're feature narrative films. They do have adult content in them, but they're, narrative storytelling model. They have won 3 times now the Florence Film Awards, the Vegas Film Festival.
Jeez.
She's been a contender in Toronto, a contender at Tribeca.
Wow.
She has spoken at South by Southwest. As a keynote speaker.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's going well. So we're doing a lot of stuff.
She's had an amazing career too. There's no two ways about it.
Oh yeah. She's quite dynamic. But what we're doing a lot of, because of her body of work, allows me access to like Netflix and Amazon Time and Showtime and places like that.
Sure.
Is getting placement on those networks.
Jeez.
So we've been doing a lot of stuff, with them. There's several Netflix series at this point that we supply scenes from, that they'll use them in their films because they, it's good stuff, and they don't have to suddenly figure out how to shoot porn or softcore porn. And we just say, okay, here's the licensing deal, and you can use this in your movie. And
awesome.
We do a flat payout, and it's quite good money. It's like the first time it wasn't even American Netflix. It was Netflix Mexico. A company got a hold of us and said, we need like 5 10-second clips of boy, girl, you can have boobs, and butts, but no genitalia, no insertion, whatever. Kind of like Skinamax sort of stuff. I said, okay, we can do that. Put it together, and they said, how much you want? I said, what's your budget? And they told me a number that made me shit my pants. I said, oh, I think I just stumbled on something. I think I just found Hollywood budget people. So
wow, now you know what to ask for.
There's some. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't quote them a figure, because it would have been 1/10 of what they're going to pay. So that's one thing we're doing. We've got our deal maker as far as broadcast at this point is Michael Klein, who goes all the way back to the early days of Hustler and Vivid, and most recently Gamma, who went in and actually set up their broadcast distribution networks, with Showtime and Vivid TV in Europe and things like that. So he's our man right now. That's got our, Angie's library and some of my library that's appropriate for cable and satellite broadcasts and hotels and things like that. And then we've got our line that we co-produced with Ashley Fires and her husband, Sci-Fi Dreamgirls.
I love Ashley.
Kind of a dystopian future thing where she's a mad scientist that clones herself.
I got to see some of that. I love Ashley. Ashley's a buddy of mine.
They're wonderful.
They are.
It's all like, it's very cheesy shit. It's kind of like Doctor Who. There's no aluminum hats or anything, but it's of that genre that it's not trying to be, modern high-end science fiction. It's got a cheesy factor that's intentional, and so that's being picked up by broadcast TV as we speak.
Cool.
And be available worldwide and primarily out of Europe next month. So
that's awesome.
So we're going crazy. We continue to heavily invest in internet technology because that's always been our bread and butter. So with that just comes constantly staying ahead of the curve as far as Wasteland.com and Shush.com, as far as the member areas, being really, really cutting edge, really responsive, works on every single device. You don't need to have any kind of porn skills to be able to find exactly what you want to find. And follow your favorite Wasteland stars or Shush stars through the members area. And so it's set up to really differentiate from the Tube experience, which the Tube experience is like, oh my God, here's 3 million things. Where do I even fucking start? This is more like an exclusive Hollywood screening club where you come in for little film festivals. You see as many things as you want, but it does present things in a curated manner as a film festival would. And people are responding to that in great guns because, the tubes are free, but you kind of get what you pay for, unless you're paying for Pornhub Premium, which we're also on Pornhub Premium, of course. But, unless you pay for like Pornhub Premium, you're going to get a lot of ads in your face. You're going to get a lot of crap you don't want to see. You're going to be digging and digging and digging. So, we spend a lot of time really curating our library and our presentation to be, kind of like an exclusive screening, film festival people. And I know that Shine Houston and Jiz Lee do a very similar technique as far as highly curated. Let's give people exactly what they want to see. Very Netflix. Bree Mills is doing a very similar thing with adulttime.com. And they're, she and Gamma are doing very, very well with adulttime.com because it's the same highly curated, very targeted, just like Netflix. You see exactly what you want. A lot of episodic series. We do a lot of episodic series because, people are accustomed to the Netflix and Amazon Prime and Showtime age of thing. You can watch a standalone movie, or you can watch a limited series that, might be 5 episodes and then it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Or it could be an ongoing series, they can run up to 6 seasons like Sci-Fi Dreamgirls. That's still open and doesn't have a definite ending yet. The difference with us is we don't just cancel them after a cliffhanger, end of episode, or end of season 7, like Netflix and Showtime does. We'll close up shop when we feel like we've milked it for all it's worth.
Of
And,
course.
people have got a 7-season, 92 episodic series that they can sit and dig into. And the whole coronavirus thing has really helped our retention in that regard,
I bet.
as well as adult time, because people do dig into these series, and they stick around. They can binge watch them. They can watch 72 episodes, and if they want, or they can watch 3 or 4 at a time, like normal people do,
Right.
and come back next week and watch 3 or 4 more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our current strategy, is to try to kind of stay ahead of the curve a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do things that are very much connected to the user experience rather than the pornographer experience. So that's on the technology front. That's a lot of what we're doing.
So, Colin, back in 2008, the studio and the pay site sector got seriously damaged by the tubes when they came out. And of course, that was also the time of the financial crisis as well. What were some ways you adapted?
What we did was we did something a little tricky. Just like the tubes at that point were having fake users, that they were actually their employees, usually in Thailand, that would steal shit and put it up and say they were a user, what actually their employee.
Right.
We became our own fake users. We went in and created accounts in the early tubes and pretended we were just, horny porn dudes at home. And we would take Wasteland content and, Hardcore Punishments and Forbidden East and, all of our various lines.
Mm-hmm.
We would chop them up into segments and we would upload them, but with a little gimmick. At that point, the tubes did not allow watermarking. And if it had a watermark, they would actually crop it. So it wouldn't show a watermark. They didn't want any traffic leaking out with people typing in a domain name, something.com.
Oh, God forbid.
So what we did is, God forbid. So what we did was came up with a little logarithm, which programmed into our editing equipment. They would take a Wasteland.com logo, and it would randomly place it for 3 seconds at random places on the video screen, not from the very beginning. So at the 35-second mark, and at the 35-second, 72-second, whatever second, it would appear. It would and it would float in and move up towards the top of the screen to attract the attention of the viewer. And we called them floaters, which was kind of funny because, when you flush a toilet and something floats, that's what they were. You can flush them all you want; they fucking come back. And you would not, you can't even believe how many, the type-in traffic from the early tubes was like, what the fuck? And people were buying. I mean, they were seeing our original content with what we called these floater watermarks in them. And we were very, very quiet about this because at that point, the other producers and webmasters in the industry were vehemently opposed to any tubes whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
But I looked at things, and I looked at the growth as far as traffic and the success of YouTube that led up to this. And so, this is fucking stupid. I can stamp my little foot up and down like Tinkerbell, but that doesn't mean the Captain Hook is not fucking here.
Yeah,
so,
should.
But we very quietly did that because I didn't want a whole bunch of people on the boards calling me a traitor and a sellout and whatever. I said, okay, fine. I just won't tell anybody I'm doing that. And we made tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars over this, over a 2-year period, until the tubes finally wised up and said, well, we can get studios to send them this stuff legally. A couple of banners, which you now see, and they can be channels. And they call them content partner programs, for Pornhub at least. So we immediately signed. We were actually one of the beta testers for Pornhub, and Xhamster went in, loaded them up with, 72, 5 to 6 minute clips with the Wasteland logo on it, not a floater this time, and some banners for them to rotate. And, nicely branded, big fat Wasteland Studios thing at the top of the page that showed all of our videos that we have up. Sub-channels, Asian and things like that, which was back in the day when you could actually have categories by race and stuff. No, you can't do that. It's just, everything is just generic. Girls. Okay, girls, really? Click girls. It's getting to be that point. The whole.
I was gonna say I hadn't noticed that, but it wouldn't surprise me considering everything right now.
It's common as far as ethnic of any kind categorization and tags has become kind of a thing. So, but we don't do a lot of ethnic content anyway. So aside from a lot of Japanese stuff, that we've got a supplier that gets us uncensored stuff that falls off a truck in Japan that doesn't have the pickles on it. So we do quite well with that. So Asian is really our only market. But so as far as back to the tubes for a second, the content partner thing, we've got 5 different areas within the Wasteland Studios section, and people wander in there and they wander around. They get to see our stuff that we've gotten in Japan, or they get to see original stuff from Wasteland, or original stuff from shush.com.
Right.
It's got a banner under it. So, people say, to see more, or see the whole movie, or to see, click here, and they click. And how that works, the mechanics is that, in the case of Pornhub, MindGeek has an affiliate account with us, just as if you were flying a banner on your blog.
Right.
They've got the same sort of thing. So when someone clicks on the banner, it tracks through our affiliate program, shows that they sent it, and then if a sale is made, they get 50% revenue share on that, which we pay them once a month. But also they pay us for other things. So it's all kind of a wash at the end of the day. Because the new generation there and other places are like Pornhub Premium, where the studio gets paid per view.
Right.
So they're paying us directly for things in that other area. So it's all kind of a wash. We pay them money, they pay us money. At the end of the day, it's probably a wash, but everybody made some money, even though it was kind of convoluted how it all happened. So that's how we survived the tubes, was just becoming fake users with floating turd watermarks, and then being early adapters of the content partner program and the premium content areas. So it works. And, most of the guys from early on that were like Tinkerbell stamping a foot, they're long gone out of business. And
absolutely.
There's a few left.
Absolutely. So many people were just like, oh, this is terrible. And what did they do? Most of them just quit.
That's the same sort of personality and business outlook as if you go back earlier to the hosted galleries, the TGP galleries.
Right.
People were saying, oh my God, free pictures. Oh my God, we can't do that. It'll be the death of porn. Well, guess what? It wasn't. It was used as a marketing modality, which the tubes are simply, they're another marketing modality. If I've got a choice of getting, 100,000 views on my things on my blog network a day, or 10 million views on my brand a day on the various tubes,
right?
Which makes sense.
Exactly.
Well, both.
Exactly. So over the past several years, there's been a lot of talk about creating ethical porn. Now, you're one of its most vocal proponents. Now, how do you handle making sure that happens in your studio practices? And since I'm still a little bit in the dark on it, not being a content guy, maybe you can tell me more about what is ethical porn.
Well, it's a word that has morphed a bit over the several years it's been around. In its essence, it means that everybody is in agreement in advance and during the process of what is being shot. That be the producer, the director, the performers, the camera dude, the guy that's holding the microphone. Everybody is on board with what this thing is. They've been through the pre-production meeting of these are what's going to happen. These are things which are okay. These are things which we are not going to do because the performer does not do that sort of thing. And if during the actual shooting, just like in BDSM, there's a safe word. Right. So let's say a performer says, yeah, this is fine with me to do this activity, but then that activity begins happening, and that performer suddenly decides, okay, I don't like this today. They can just use a safe word. Boom, full stop, everything, regroup, talk it through, and then if that performer says, well, let me try it again, maybe just surprise me, or say, no, let's just not do this at all. There are so many things you can do with the
Right.
human body,
Sure.
there's no need to have that one specific thing. Let's just
Yeah.
find something else. So at its essence, that's what ethical porn is.
Okay.
As far as regards to us, the way that we have always shot, because we're out in the middle of New England, kind of in the middle of nowhere, is we've always worked with local people, and predominantly people that are couples. They live together. If they're BDSM, they're BDSM couples in a BDSM lifestyle arrangement. And a lot of them are performance artists. They go out to the BDSM clubs and they tie each other up and display snap the whip and play with the fire and all of that stuff. And they've already got routines down from these stage performance shows. So we integrate that as the point of departure. For Angie's stuff, for the shush SSSH.com, that tends to be couples either living together, married, or in some kind of a monogamous dating relationship, that already have chemistry, and they've already got kind of a bag of tricks, we can call it, of what really works for them. So rather than like in a Hollywood porn movie where, okay, you're going to do this position, that position, come in her face and done. No, it's not that at all. It's very organic.
Sure.
It's based on what the performers enjoy doing, what turns them on, what's hot. And so in that regard, the way that we shoot, be it BDSM or the independent adult stuff, it's much more of a documentary approach. And it doesn't look like a documentary. We're not making Ken Burns porn. We're making real movies. But the approach is that we are on the other side of the camera. We have talked through with everybody involved on what it's going to be. Sometimes there's a script. Sometimes there's a really big script. If it's one of Angie's movies, sometimes there's no script at all. In the case of Wasteland, oftentimes we let the femdom actually direct the film, because she knows exactly with her submissive what's going to work best. So why should I be saying, okay, now it's time to move on from the bullwhip to the butt plug? No, that's just stupid. The femdom has got experience. She knows what's going to be hot. She knows what's going to turn on the submissive and get the right effect. So basically, those are self-directed. Right. So that's we kind of defaulted into ethical porn just because of how we do business.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a philosophy, Colin. It's like, let it happen.
Yeah, it is. And the other part of ethical porn is really morphed at this point into racial and ethnic diversity is part of when people are talking about ethical porn. We've never had that problem, mostly because we're in East Cupcake, New Hampshire, and the version in New Hampshire of ethnic people are French Canadians. We don't have racial diversity here. So we've basically gone through the entire gene pool of racial performers, multiple times at this point. There aren't any. We do our best, but it's not like being in LA or Vegas or Miami or places like that where they do have a lot of ethnic diversity. So it becomes important for people to, to try to have some racial inclusivity. We do have a lot of French Canadians, if that counts.
No, it doesn't. So Colin, you've been doing this a long time, and the word pioneer is certainly appropriate for you. What are the biggest differences you've seen in our industry since you got started?
Wow, where would I even isolate that over a 26-year time frame? A couple of things, if I can not just pick one. Great. Technology is a no-brainer. There was no technology.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, from 95 through 97, there was a small group of us. I think there were 12 of us. And we met at this little thing called whynoga.com. And it would be a IRC live chat where we would type in a little group room, once a day. And people like David Vanderpool and Ron Levy, the guy that started Erotica, and RB, and people like that, and me, we would just sit and say, okay, how do you do this? And one of my favorites was that, okay, we've all got pictures on this. We've all got pictures of the internet, but people want to see videos. How do we do that? And David Vanderpool came back a couple of days later. He says, I got it. I figured it out. It's called a JPEG push. We'll take we'll set up a camera to take a still photo every 5 seconds of whatever's going on a stage show or in a scene.
Was that seriously?
And then we will
Was that seriously how they did it?
That's exactly how they did it.
Oh,
and every 5 seconds, the frame that this was embedded in, it would be a JPEG that would push to the next JPEG 5 seconds later, which was the safe time of you think everybody on the internet would have downloaded the first picture so it could begin to load.
This is true because we're talking dial-up back then.
Yeah. So that's how the technology. I mean, back in those days, it was like, okay, how do we accept credit cards over the internet? Let's see how we can figure that out. How do we establish a reoccurring membership database to know when somebody's membership has expired?
You know what this kind of reminds me of, Colin? Did you ever see the movie that scammer from ePassport did? I think he called it Middlemen.
Middleman, yeah, asshole guy, right?
Yeah. He took everybody's money and he made a movie. Kind of reminds me of that. Kind of reminds me of that movie.
Most of the characters in there are based on real life people that I know personally.
I'm sure,
and some of them I've worked with or been screwed by. So, Middlemen is a good example of early technology and people, unscrupulous people, making a buttload of money and then moving to Thailand, which is not why you're in Thailand, I know. But a lot of them went to Thailand, non-extradition places. They made their money, they ran. The dialer thing, that was a huge scam. I don't know if you remember Yishai, but that whole profit plantation thing, that it was silencing people's speakers on their PCs so you couldn't hear the modem hang up or hear the modem dial up someplace called Moldavia at $9 a fucking minute.
Ooh.
Just to have the connection to bill it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that, but that was before my time in the industry, so I didn't get there that early.
As far as the change over a 26-year period that I've been around technology, as far as the infrastructure of porn on the internet, obviously technology and the way that we produce content. Starting out when we first started out, we were shooting on film. Right. We had a Nikon film camera. We get 35 millimeter films. We would shoot a roll, change rolls. Then at the end of the day, all the rolls would go to a guy called Victor down in East Babylon, New York, in a bag. And a week later, they would come back on this very early version of something called a CD-ROM, all the JPEG. Oh my God. And, and they would have to take this film and they would run it through they would do development and film scanning. That was the technology at the time. And then along came, I think, the first big breakthrough and disruptor was the first digital camera around 1998. I think Kodak was the first to come out with it, 98, 9-ish. Don't quote me on that date. But that was a real game changer because suddenly you had what were people like myself, who was a photographer at the time, and, a small group out there that were doing professional erotic and fetish photography. Suddenly, anybody could make this.
Of course.
If they spent $1,200 on a Kodak digital camera, they could shoot all day. They didn't have to do developing. They didn't have to do anything. They just needed to transfer it onto a computer, put it on a web page, upload it to the internet, and boom, done.
Yep.
So that was the first disruptor. The second disruptor was video. Once we got past the whole concept of JPEG push and that, okay, we can take videos now. And there's this thing called Real Player, Real Media, way back. And it was a platform that you could encode your stuff locally and put it on your server. And there was a player called the Real Player that would then broadcast it.
Right.
Now the sizes of which were like 320 by 240.
Yeah.
It was basically an animated postage stamp on a screen, but that's the head. And so technology as far as video, really, progressed exponentially. You've got the entire virtual reality phenomenon that's been happening over the past 3 or 4 years, that is doing very, very well for people that have exploited that. Badoink, and there's probably a good dozen studios ranging from large to, small shops that are really, that's their business model. Mm-hmm. They do VR, and they do it very, very well.
Yeah.
So that's another. So in the change category, that would be pretty much all of technology I can think of. Mm-hmm. As far as business environment, it's very much gone from, in the early days in the 90s, it was very much an old boys club. There were no women. Right. And old boys, at that point, were basically doing things in a spit and a handshake. And said, okay, here's our deal. We're going to do this. And, spit and a handshake done. Maybe a contract or at least a agreement of some sort. But at that point, it was just old boys saying, okay, I won't fuck you. You won't fuck me, because, it's a mutual destruction thing. If anybody fucks each other, we're going to tell all our friends, and then whoever fucked the other one is fucked. It's really changed a lot. Now, once you got to, I'm thinking 2008 was really kind of a turning point in so many ways with the advent of the tubes, right, which really ramped up the pressure on studios and webmasters to up their game in a way. And at that point, when people start panicking, they start doing stupid and oftentimes illegal or at least unethical things. Yep. And that was really the fucking boom around 2008, because people were scared. They didn't know, okay, what the fuck do I do? Yeah. I don't know what to do. These tubes came along and they've taken away 60% of my revenue. Yeah. What do I do? Well, I guess I'll start screwing people. Mm-hmm. So the screwing happened, and that's about the same time that a real boon came to adult entertainment industry lawyers, because they were needed at that point. Yeah. Because everything needed to be looked at. Sure. You had 2257 came into play, so that needed to be looked at legally. Contracts needed to be looked at carefully. Licensing agreements needed to be done legally and correctly, right. Which is all a good. I really miss 2006, 2007. Get on the phone with Ron Levy, spit in a handshake, we're done. Boom. And a week later, we're all making fuck knows how much money. Yep. To today, all right, I'm going to make a deal with another studio to do a joint project. And, 2 months later and tens of thousands of dollars in legal expenses later, we're all happy with our contract and our confidentiality agreements and our non-compete clauses and blah, 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 blah. And now we pull the trigger on that. So 2 months later, as opposed to spit in a handshake, but it's necessary now, because it is a very good assumption that many deals you make at this point in the adult industry, somebody will fuck it up and you will lose. Yeah. Even if it was intentional or not. It might be totally not intentional. Somebody might just run out of money or run out of time or run out of resources. Right. A programming firm or a whatever, a subcontracted film studio. Sure. The whole thing could crap out at any minute because somebody else runs out of budget, resources, or time to fulfill a contract. And then anything you put into it, you lose it. Right. Right. Yeah, it's changed. It hasn't necessarily gotten better. Well, hey, Colin, I'd really like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk. I know we could go on for a couple more hours, so we'll have to get you back. Between you, we could write a novel, Bruce.
Well, let's plan to do it again real soon. My broker tip today is part 3 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Find new ways to monetize your website, such as sell advertising. If you've got a free site like a tube, that's the best way to monetize your site. If you have a tube, another way to make more money is to sell premium memberships. Offer free users one level of content, and for premium users, you can do things like give them higher quality or longer videos or both. You can also make the site ad-free for premium members. Start an affiliate program. If you have a pay site, especially, this is a great way to increase your quality traffic and get more joins. With all sites, you can figure out other upgrades and products you can sell to your users. Pay sites can also sell pay-per-view, where people have the option of paying by the scene for content they can't get on the site. This is also another way to charge users as opposed to a monthly fee. Sell them other products like toys and novelties. Market your business. Do things to improve your search engine results like SEO. There are some great SEO consultants out there who can help you get higher search rankings in Google. If you want some recommendations, contact us on our site. List all of the benefits of your site in your marketing and how they affect the user. And of course, hire a great marketing consulting firm such as, Adult B2B Marketing, which we also happen to own. Eliminate unneeded expenses. Constantly make sure you're not spending money you don't have to. Make sure there isn't duplication in your staffing. From time to time, check services you pay for, like hosting, and see if there are better and less expensive options. Take it from me, I've done this and saved a bunch, plus got higher quality hosting in the process. Again, ask us for recommendations. Always look for ways to do things more cost effectively. Along with this, make your profit and loss statement show more profit. Increasing sales and reducing expenses obviously does just that. Make sure your P&L statement accurately reflects your company's actual costs, not a bunch of personal expenses you've put in. This will cost you money when you sell. It may help you with the tax man to put that stuff on your tax return, but it hurts you if you show that stuff on your profit and loss statement. Remember, every dollar in profit increases the value of your website as much as 3 to 4 times. This is why you need a good, experienced broker to help lead you through the process. We've gotten people thousands of dollars more on their sale just by adjusting the P&L statement to reflect actual business expenses as opposed to a bunch of BS. We'll talk about this subject more next week. And next week, we'll be talking to adult industry PR guru Erica Icahn. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Colin Rowntree. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.